Alright, so now we are headed down to qualifying. So this is a smaller course. It's probably 5 miles long or so. We had a chance to pre-run it, but we kind of halfway pre-ran it. We basically drove the second half of it, and then we drove the first half of it. Didn't take any notes on it or anything like that. Hindsight, definitely should have done a better job. So right now this guy's just telling me, okay, he's going to give me the thumbs up, I'm going to give him the thumbs up, and then after that, once I acknowledge him, then, the light will go green that you can see down there off on the left side of the course, and then after that, hammer down. So if you watch closely, the light goes green and then back to red really quickly. So that's why I kind of like stutter stepped, I guess you could say, on the gas. And yeah, hindsight should have just took off, but I was worried that something happened or something like that out on the course and they actually need me to stop. That's why the light goes back green again. So alright, now watch that light. So he gives me the thumbs up, so watch the light. It'll go green and then back to red and then green again. See? So I was like, wait, what? So this is probably the hardest that I've ran the Can-Am and stuff, into corners and out of corners. That new suspension setup that we, found during testing before we got here, so worth it. Oh my god, was it way better and way more predictable in the corners. Up there on that ridge, you can't really see it in the video probably, but there were a ton of spectators up there. And the next day we ended up actually watching the trophy trucks and Ultra 4 cars from up there. It was a great view. So this jump coming up right here, we definitely should have let off a little bit more on that than we did. Doesn't look like it in the video, but that was about everything that it had to soak up. It was quite the impact, that's for sure. But it was awesome. It was a ton of fun. This corner, people kept cutting it more and more and more. By the end of the race, people had cut it so bad. So because this is private property, they told us, basically to stay on the well-beaten path, except to pass and stuff. Normally when you go to races, some of the bigger races like Baja and stuff like that, basically you just have to make it from checkpoint to checkpoint. However you want to do that, whatever path you want to take, that's fine. But this is a little bit different out here, especially since this is private property. So this is the part of the qualifying course that I had no idea about. I wasn't sure if it went left, right, or, I wasn't sure how deep each dip was. I wasn't sure about any of it. So I definitely took it really easy through here. It definitely showed during our, in our qualifying time and stuff like that, but I think we qualified 7th, I think it was. 7th or 11th, it was one of the two. I think we qualified 11th actually because we finished 7th overall. But this straightaway that we're coming up to, this straightaway right here. So they put the timers way down there at the end of the straightaway. Logical thing to do. But there was no run out. Like the run out was a turn. It's like, so you came into that way fast. So I ended up actually getting off the gas probably a good couple hundred feet before the timers even. But other guys actually rolled right there coming off the track trying to make that left-handed sharp turn. They actually ended up rolling, so it was not going to be that guy. But alrighty, let's get right into the race now. Alright, so this is sped up quite a bit, but this is basically how they line you up beforehand. They line you up in the order you qualified in, and then they're 1-minute intervals that they let you go in. So this guy up here on the left, he's basically checking everybody, telling you, check your helmet, check your belts, check your neck restraint and stuff like that. And then after that, you pull up here to the start line. And then just like in qualifying, you watch that green light and then hammer down and let her eat. And then after that, we're off for 12 hours of madness, that's for sure. So this right here would actually be the finish line for when we come back through. It kind of sucks because you finish on pit lane, like that is all pit road all the way through there. The pits are actually, you know, if you could see behind us better, you could see it. So, but that's a long ways from now. So this downhill right here was so dang steep. I wanted to jump down it so bad, but I was really nervous. If it bucked the car at all, we'd go for one hell of a ride. But it was an awesome like launch pad to essentially like launch you down into this long straightaway. Those Willwood brakes were paying off big time, especially coming into this corner because you came in with so much momentum into these. Those things were really paying off. So this is that off-camber section we talked about during the pre-run. And this is that one really bad off-camber corner that no matter how many times we did it, I think we got in 11 or 12 laps total. Every single time, it was always a butt pucker. It never felt good. The car never felt settled on it and stuff. It constantly felt like it wanted to roll, and it felt like the rear end wanted to walk down the hill really bad. So as you can see, we're a whole 3 minutes into this race, and we're already catching the guy in front of us, who, mind you, was a minute ahead of us. So I was definitely feeling pretty confident at that point. So in this kind of not, grassroots racing, right, not professional, bump to pass is not really, I'm not going to say it's not allowed, but it's not really encouraged. It's kind of frowned upon a little bit. So as you can hear, starting to get on the horn and stuff like that to let him know we're here, because I've already caught him. You were a minute ahead of me, and then within 2 miles I have managed to catch up to you, so our paces are definitely different. And then he tries to like jackrabbit. It's like you're supposed to pull over and let the guy go by you and stuff, that way you can pick a good spot that's not dangerous. Otherwise the guy behind you, me, is going to pick any spot and can potentially put both of you in kind of a pickle, because you can't really see that well what's coming up in front of him. So like I said, not really saying that he had to pull over, doesn't have to. After all, this is a race, but it's kind of a common courtesy thing out here in the desert. Otherwise you're just going to get nerfed. So I wasn't going to do that though, because this is way too early on in this race. See you later. Apparently that guy ended up assisting people who rolled over, and I think he rolled back over 5 or 6 people out there on the course, which is pretty cool. If you take a picture when you come up on somebody who's rolled, it'll have a timestamp on it, and then you take another picture once you're like taking off again. That way there's another timestamp, basically a timestamp of when you got there and when you left, and they'll actually give you your time back if you're assisting other people. And then they say whenever there's a fire out there, basically they say it's at that point it's pretty much on the honor system, because they just want people to stop and not worry about the time or anything like that and stuff. Like, just stop and put the fire out, because out here you can see it's a lot of dry grass and fire will spread super fast. So unfortunately there was a fire actually the next day out here. A couple guys were running in the, I think it was the 4500 class. They had a super nice Toyota 4Runner that they had spent 2 years building this thing. It was awesome. And unfortunately, like mile 15, I think it is, it caught on fire. They rolled it and it caught on fire and it burnt to the ground. Unfortunately, it was definitely a heartbreaker, that's for sure. I never got to see it or anything like that, but from where we were sitting in the pits, you could just see a plume of black smoke, and you could definitely tell that it was not going good out there for them. Luckily, everybody made it out okay, but 2 years of hard work and 2 years of every penny you could scrimp and save together went up in flames, unfortunately. So one thing that was kind of interesting about this is, because you all run in such a single file essentially, like we all run in the same grooves. It was crazy how deep the tire ruts got and how frequently you would bottom the car out just going down like a straightaway, or you'd bottom the car out when you came into a corner and you get on the brakes, the car would, you know, the front end would dive like an inch or two and just belly out on something. It was definitely pretty wild, because normally the stuff that we race on is either really a lot rockier or it's a lot harder ground, whereas a lot of the stuff out here was actually kind of sandy. That was definitely something that I was not totally prepared for, but it, you know, once it happened the first time, it was kind of like, oh yeah, duh, that makes sense. So out here, again, gonna be in the car for 12 hours. So really, I'm just trying to run at 70 or 80%. I'm a little embarrassed to say that I chicken-footed the car most of the race. Never got it wide open. Never actually really put that pedal down to the floor. Again, I was just trying to keep conservative and just make sure that the car would make it all 12 hours. That definitely reflected in our finishing and stuff like that. However, we never once had a single issue that we had to fix in the pits. We did end up having a gearbox or a front diff issue. The front diff, basically I'd come into a corner and I'd get on the brakes, and I was feeling something in the floorboard and stuff. Like once I'd get off the brakes and get on the gas and start to turn and come out of a corner, I'd feel like the floorboard vibrating. I was like, what the heck is that? Pretty soon it got so bad that basically the floorboard was like, you could feel a rattle or a vibration in your feet and like in your butt and stuff almost the whole time. So just for kicks and giggles, I took it out of four-wheel drive and I threw it in two-wheel drive, and it totally went away. So at first I was kind of nervous because it would happen in the corners or something and stuff, and I was nervous that, well, maybe a wheel bearing's going out or something, or, you know, knuckle is broken or something like that. You know, I was worried about something keeping the car from, you know, staying on all four, because if something like that broke, right, you dig in that corner, cartwheel. But once I found out that it was a front diff, you know, they confirmed it when I went into the pits, like, oh yeah, there's diff fluid everywhere. The pinion is dripping fluid. So I was like, all right, well, front diff is gone, but at least, you know, keeping two-wheel drive worked really good. So here I'm letting a guy go by on the inside because I could see him coming up, right? And I didn't lose any time. He didn't really lose any time. So it was no big deal. You know, always try to pick a good place for people to go by, because if you race with the same people long enough, at some point you're going to need a favor from them, and they'll remember those times that you were easy to pass or made it easy on them or whatever. Especially since he was in a Maverick car, he was racing in a different class than us, so I was not worried about the position at all. And what I was hoping would happen is that he'd basically get around me and I'd be able to kind of stick with him a little bit and kind of learn what he's doing. And as you can tell, he was gone. Like, he flat out took off. So this uphill, I was going a little bit here to the right, but on my left side there was still a rock ledge that you had to get up and over. I should have just gone a full buggy width to the right, smoked that bush, and gone up over the top. But I was trying my best to do what they said in the driver's meeting and to stay in, you know, the actual like path and stuff, and not, you know, make this a super wide race course, because like I said, this is private property and stuff, and I want to be respectful of that. You know, out here for fun, not gonna run the whole series, so it's no big deal. That was such a tight S-turn. You basically came down from a long wide open straightaway down to like 15 miles an hour to get through this stupid S-turn, and then it was hammered down again. So this is where, like I said, I should have had this thing at, you know, I should have put this thing on the chip the whole way, and I'm ashamed to say that I did not, but you know, I'm going to blame it on the fact that it was actually uncomfortable for me to try to get the thing all the way down the floor. I should have moved my seat forward one more notch, because to get that thing all the way to the floor, I actually had to like stretch my toes out. But what are you going to do? So unfortunately, the GoPro died right there. I had it plugged in the whole time. It was plugged into a massive battery pack, and it died. So overall, though, really happy with how we did. You know, looking forward to going back next year. They did a fantastic job running that race, and definitely could not be happier. So I'm excited now for us to go through and let's see what happened to that front diff and see if we can learn something from it. So, all right, guys, that's all from me today. I'll catch you guys later.